Thanks for staying with us. You're watching This Morning. Our attention this morning is turned to the crisis in southern Kaduna, and I'm joined by the Kaduna State Chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend Joseph Hayab. Thank you so much for staying the course on the program. The phone line is buzzing, but I'd like us to hear from our guest briefly before returning to it. Reverend Hayab, you heard Abdullahi from Kaduna, from Kafancha, and what he said is similar to the position of the police, that usually when a killing happens, the people assume it's the neighbor, and instead of reporting, they take laws into their hands. What do you think is responsible for what appears to be, a lack of trust between the people and law enforcement agency?
I'm not sure that the people don't trust law enforcement agency. I'm only realizing that because those of us who want to comment about the issue don't comment about the issue honestly and trying to play some kind of bias or sentiment into it. I'm Joseph Hayab. I hail also from Southern Kaduna, and Abdullahi knows that very well. In Kafanchan, to be precise, I can call names of very notable people in Jama'ah Emirate that we have put ourselves as committee. We have worked many years with them trying to find solution to these matters. We've been to villages, we've been to different chiefdoms, we've been talking. But you see, the reality of this thing is, once there is some problems in Kaduna, the community or key actors come home and give a picture as if the problem is their tribal or religious problem. So certain governors or governments who come in place did not open door for sincere and honest conversation. Because if you remember, in 1999, we came out of a military regime in 2000, and then we had Sharia crisis. Immediately after Sharia crisis, we have the Miswar Beauty Project. But God gave us a governor at that time who was very open, and so he began to engage the people in dialogue, understanding what exactly are the issues. And before you know what's happening, McCarthy was able to sustain that peace, and we had a 9 years consistent lack of violence until 2011, the post-election violence that happened in many parts of the north, and Southern Kaduna came up again to it. Then this new wave of criminality came up because the leaders who came up after that time were not honest and willing to have a constructive engagement. Someone earlier said something about stakeholders. The truth is that there's nobody coming out of that place that will want to see crisis. We want to hear people being killed. Look, we go home every Christmas and every holiday for break. So why should there be crisis in the place I'm supposed to go for break? I should do everything humanly possible to ensure that the place is violence-free, the place is peaceful. We have invited so many groups to come in there and wade into this matter and engage the people. But as the people are making effort to understand one another, then from the top, certain dramas will come and further divide them. Because anything that needs to be addressed from a just and equitable manner, if they are addressed with sentiment and religious or tribal biases, just trigger another suspicion. So when people are also posted to serve in the formations that are security formations around, and they come to play what looks like a tribal or a religious agenda, they further just make the people not trust to trust them and to come and share with them information.
Just a minute, Reverend. You mentioned just now that there was a period of 9 years where there were no crises. Can you be more specific as to what happened during that time that stopped happening in 2011?
Platforms for honest engagement, for honest dialogue were created. And you see, because those platforms were created, the people in authority also showed deliberate commitment to make this platform work. Because you could create platform for engagement, but your body language shows that you don't even care about the engagement. You are not honest about the engagement. So the engagements will not be fair. But when you create a platform for engagement, for people to dialogue, and you honestly also show commitment, because that was the structure that Governor McCarthy brought in place. It's not about his party, it's about him as a person. And when Namadi Sambo came to be in authority, he built on that. Today, there is something in Kaduna called Operation Yaki. It was actually established by Namadi Sambo because when he came, he now realized that, okay, since we have begun to engage the people in dialogue, we still have criminal elements who may not come to the dialogue table. So they need the force of the law to show them that they cannot take us back to Egypt. And so Operation Yaki was established. I remember the former vice president, who later became president, Goodluck Jonathan, came to commission Operation Yaki, and then something else started happening.
Okay, hold on.
Now beginning
hold
to
on, Reverend.
The conversation, understanding each other. But when those in authority don't give that kind of room,
yes,
even if you go to dialogue, you are still dialoguing without concrete support.
Please hold that thought. Let's quickly take this call from Enugu. Good morning, Chooks.
Hello, good afternoon, please.
Yeah, well, it's still 20 minutes before noon. Good morning. Welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you so much. I think the point, hello.
I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. I think the point everyone is making is very clear as daylight. What you describe in every community class, who are the combatants? Are women and children combatants? Hello?
Go ahead. Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
I said, what you describe as communal class means that there are combatants. So what the Reverend is saying is as clear as daylight. They can be are women and children combatants in the conflict? So I think I don't have much to comment on, except let us not be moving around the problem. There is an aggressor and there's a victim. That is my point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chooks, for your contribution. Reverend Hayab, quickly, I'd like us to talk about this seeming age-long indigene-settler divide that we are told often trigger violence in this part of the country. The state government is insisting on common citizenship. Do you subscribe to that?
Well, you see, these are the realities that we must face as Northerners and as Nigerian citizens. Southern Kaduna and Kaduna State is not an isolated area from the Nigerian Constitution. If we talked about indigenous settlers dichotomy, what exactly is the provision of the Nigerian laws about that? And number two, what is the practice? Can I, as a Southern Kaduna man, move to Sokoto, move to Katsina, move to Kano, move to another place, or to Jigawa, and claim to belong to that place? I know I will be reminded that I belong here. I've always used this story to explain. So sometimes when people are telling us that we are one of the most consistent and tolerating community I have ever seen are the Southern Kaduna people. The fact about it is that is the tolerance of Southern Kaduna people, the accommodation of the Southern Kaduna people that some people are abusing today and are now doing certain things that are not. Because many people who call on phone and tell us that they are indigenous of that place, they've been there for 50 years. When I prove further, I will just tell you they are actually Katsina people, they are actually Kano people, they are actually Sokoto people. But because of the accommodation of the Southern Kaduna people, we never cared. As I speak to you, I can refer with names and figures that I have always stood and even sponsored tafsir of Muslims, though I'm a pastor. I have sent Muslims to Hajj, though I'm a pastor. So what else do you expect? But show me in the same Kaduna state where I am doing this. I can see someone who comes from Borno or comes from Yobe and get a job in Kaduna, and my child will go to the local government to seek for later an indigent form, and that person will be issuing him a settler form. That's the same person that is telling me that there's a problem of settler-indigent dichotomy. So we are talking about real facts here, not just using terms. What is the provision of the law? Can I, with all sense of honesty, be in Sokoto and be accepted in Sokoto as an indigent? But in Southern Kaduna, we do, and we've never contested it. So can people just be honest and appreciate that our magnanimity, than if there's a crisis, they now want to paint a picture as if we do not. No, it's not fair. And that's part of the reason why we begin not to trust certain voices, because when you people know the truth and cannot come out and say, look, yes, these people have accommodated us. Yes, these people have accepted us. Yes, these people do not show differences among us. But criminals who want to see us fighting do come around to attack them. And naturally, those criminals come and use either religious identity or certain identity that shows they come from this. And it is just natural for us to also call those who share the identity of the criminal and say, wait a minute, these criminals coming to kill our wives, coming to kill our children, seems to be sharing your identity. Do you know them? Can you talk to them? That's the offense. Oh, we don't need to talk to them. Then we now come to security and say, security, we are sleeping in our rooms and people use religious expression and come and kill us. Can you go after them? No, we don't have the right to complain. I think these are where the problems are. So settlers indigent dichotomy is not something restricted to Southern Kaduna. Can a Southern Kaduna man go to Kaduna and be accepted? Can a Southern Kaduna man go to Sokoto and be accepted? Even if he stays there. Let me say this. I've ever said it in a public function. I'm going to use this forum to say that even in appointment, a typical northern state will not appoint a Southern Kaduna Christian into office. Why? Because he's still a northerner. But it will be given to someone far from the south. When you complain, they will now remind you, but are the other ones not Christians? But in the same south we go, we know our limit, we know where we are. Nobody will tell me that I don't know where I hail from, and I cannot lay claim to where I hail from. I'm not sure there's any place in our constitution that says so.
I hear you, Reverend Hayab, but the point I was making and the question I was really asking is the narrative of people who would say that I have lived here for 300 years. I should not be, referred to as a settler. I also should share the right of indigenship. Just like it is internationally, when you live for a number of years and you have worked, you're expected to naturalize. Is there an acceptance of that fact or of that truth?
I can tell you, practically, there's an acceptance of that. There is even, we grew up with people who had no attachment with Kaduna State, but because they have come to our land, they have stayed with us, we receive them. Some of us even train their children in school. Some of them even keep their children in our homes. So we don't have a problem with that. What we simply have is the Fulani man that we were relating with and relating as a neighbor, relating with and relating as a friend, suddenly becomes somebody that we see with a knife or we see with a gun or with an AK-47. And now in our sleep, he will come, burn our house and kill us. So we are now asking the Fulanis among us, wait a minute, we know you, we've been living with you. Who is this one who share your identity but is killing us, is destroying us? That is the question that people are
I hear
saying.
you, Reverend
There is a
Hayab.
segregation of indigents.
Please
and
hold that thought for a minute.
No, those who do not
please can they hold that thought for a minute, Reverend Hayab? And we'll get back to it shortly. But Ajibola has been online from Abuja. Hello, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm there. Good morning.
Oh, sorry for keeping you waiting. Please go ahead. You have 1 minute.
What I have is that I have the reference talking about the security agents. Actually, the security agents cannot be everywhere. That's number one point. That's number one. The security agents cannot be everywhere. And we also know what's happening in Maiduguri today. The security agents, and they need to be the focus when it comes to all this kind of fight, because when the security agents do not know what they're doing, it will end up in the way that the security agents are supporting a side. Are you with me?
I'm with you. Please go ahead.
The reference should, and the security agents, they are trying their best when it comes to. That's what I just have to say.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ajibola.
Yeah, I think I need to make this comment clear. We hold our security agents in high esteem. We appreciate their roles. We appreciate the sacrifices, many of them. I was born and brought up in the barracks. My father fought in the Civil War, so I know the sacrifice. I'm not going to look down on the effort of security agents. But what we are saying is that we have to do our work the way our work is supposed to be done. And if we are drawing attention to some of those lapses, it's to help correct it, not to say that security agents are not doing anything. We believe that security agents are there to help safeguard the people, but they cannot be everywhere. They need intelligent report from the people. That's another issue. What kind of relationship, what kind of communication do they have to get the information? That's a conversation for another day, but we need to raise this question and talk to ourselves so that we correct things that are not going on right. But because security agents have arrested some people in Southern Kaduna and claimed that they arrested them with weapons, and when you prove and go further to investigate, only to realize that those young people who are tired of this attack and sleepless night, probably they learned that their community was attacked and they ran to go and give a helping hand to chase away the criminals, will be caught with even some kind of knives even kitchen knives and cutlasses and some den guns. And before you know, the self-security will parade them and say they've arrested those who are. Well, the real criminals who came and killed hundreds of people or 20 people had gone and nobody arrested them. So we should be reminding ourselves some of these issues that we know is creating anger than to pretend about it.
I understand your point precisely, Reverend Hayab, but I hope we can also both agree that crime is crime, whether it is reprisal or not.
There's no word called reprisal here.
No, I'm saying that if you're saying that those who were arrested were those who took up arms to defend themselves.
That is even in the United Nations Charter. If a criminal comes to injure my family as the father or as someone in the house, I stand to defend them, and now you call me reprisal. I think I beg to disagree with that. That's not reprisal. I'm only defending my home.
All right. Let's take one last call, Reverend Hayab, and then we'll wrap up this conversation. Oseni has called in from Ojota, right? I think we lost that. Well, that's how much we can take via calls. I'd just like us to speak to the way forward, because you mentioned earlier on that you buried some 38 people, and in another few days, you are going to bury some 20-something people who are victims of this latest attack. I mean, you are tired of the killing, apparently.
That's right.
We are tired of the killing. And I understand that there are sharp differences, amongst the two divides. You also mentioned that there was a period of peace. If you have the magic wand right now, what would you say to the other stakeholders who probably do not completely agree with your position? How can we look beyond these differences for the sake of peace and prosperity of Southern Nigeria? Southern Kaduna.
If you ever have a success story and things are beginning to deteriorate, you go back to check, what did you do right that gave you success? And can you replicate that thing again to get success, even if it means you modify it? This is where we've really not done well, especially those in authority. What gave that 9 years success? They don't even want to hear it. If you talk about it, they think you are hailing a particular identity, which is wrong. A success is a success, even if it comes from your enemy. A good story is a good story, even if it comes from someone you don't know. So I want to suggest and advise those in authority that, look, what did the previous government did right and got a 9 years seizure of this violence? Can we go and repeat it honestly? Allow and engage people in honest conversation that will bring about healing. When we do that, then we'll be helping and restoring sanity. But when we say, no, whatever success that was achieved, as long as it wasn't about us, shouldn't be mentioned, shouldn't come to bear.
Okay.
But we're burying people. People are being killed. Evil is still going on. And we've not really arrested or prosecuted anybody.
We have to go now, Reverend Hayab.
We only come to the television and talk, and there is nothing. So these are the kind of advice I would want to give.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Kaduna State Chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend John Joseph Hayab. We really appreciate your time, and we wish you all the best as we pray that peace will be restored in Southern Kaduna. That's our show this morning. A big thank you to everyone who's called in. I am Nifemi Ogutoye. The conversation continues with the hashtag ThisMorningTVC. We are now joining live the ceremony to mark the completion of the Blue Line, the light rail project of the Lagos State government. Stay with TVC News.